106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Ang silid-aralan sa radyo, hatid namin ay makabagong paraan ng pagtuturo at kalaman. Mapaumaga, tanghali o hapon man yan. Ang istasyong magbibigay impormasyon kahit saan man.
For something big. Alright, here we go.
106.3 Dance Radio. Doña Aurora National High School, Santa Rita, Aurora, Isabela.
This
106.3 DWDR-FM. Physics, Chemistry, Earth Science, Biology, Biochemistry, Environmental Science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is the way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity and how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science. And now, here is your host for the day.
Good afternoon, our dear listeners and viewers. We hope you are now tuning in to this scientific session amidst the cold weather. Cold weather. O naman talaga cold weather ngayon, di ba? Okay, good afternoon to our dance family headed by our very supportive officer in charge, Sir Rodrigo V. Pascua. This afternoon, we will be having a very exciting topic in Science 10, which is on the roles of hormones in the reproductive system. Ma'am Mirna, what are to be expected from our students after our discussion this afternoon?
Okay, good afternoon, Ma'am Jen. And of course, to all our grade 10 learners who are presently attending our session today. After our discussion, our learners must be able to explain the role of hormones involved in the female and male reproductive systems. So, my dear learners, stay with us and let us explore and learn how hormones impact the reproductive functions.
Thank you, Ma'am Mirna. With us today are the very enthusiastic Science 10 teachers to elaborate our lesson for this week. We have Ma'am Donna, Ma'am Dines, and Ma'am Dines.
Okay, Ma'am Donna, shout out naman dyan.
Okay, good afternoon sa mga estudyante natin, lalong-lalo na sa 10 Mendeleev and 10 Einstein. Yan, sana makinig kayo hanggang sa kahuli-huli ang part ng ating discussion ngayong hapon.
Yes, Ma'am Dines.
Okay, yes, Ma'am Jen. Okay, good afternoon sa aking mga 9 Gayabano, 9 Dalandan, and 9 Makopa. But of course, yung lesson natin ngayon na Science 10. So, shout out naman sa aking mga 10 Tangkile, 10 Talisay, and 10 Tindalo. Magandang hapon sa ating lahat.
And once again, good afternoon to my 10 Sinagtala, Obra, and SPJ. Welcome to our lesson on the air. No? Actually, live discussion lang tayo this afternoon. I can see some are already in. Nakikita ko may mga screenshots na silang sinesend sa akin. So please stay all throughout the discussion. And for those who are not yet in, please tune in or join now for us to learn better our Quarter 3 Week 1 lesson.
Ayan, syempre, di ba ang saya-saya? Hello sa aking mga 10 Kamagong and 10 Jimilina. Naka-tune in na sila. Ayan, nagsisend na rin sila ng screenshot. And also, of course, sa lahat ng grade 10 learners ng dance. Kaya sit back and relax cause we are here. We got your back.
Oh, di ba?
Kaming bahala sa inyo. Basta makinig kayong mabuti.
May patagline ka pa, Ma'am Jen, ha? Ayan. Okay, so dear learners, let's start, no? Ayan. Sir Joshel, nakikita na ba? Ayan. So, as you can see, ayan, meron na tayong pinapresent dyan. So, please, my dear learners, kindly observe the pictures presented. Ayan, nakikita ba natin? Okay, and tell us your idea of what do the pictures depict. What does the picture show? Ano sa tingin ninyo?
Oo, pero
Yan.
you may send your answers via the chat box or through text para dun sa mga nakikinig sa radyo. Yan, ang ating number ay, CP number ay 0910-6423002. Ulitin ko, 0910-6423002. Ayan. Meron na bang mga nag-chat, ma'am?
Okay, paki-monitor nga, ma'am. Sa akin yung text.
Oo. Ano yung tanong natin, no? Anong tanong natin?
Okay, kindly observe the pictures presented and tell us your idea of what do the pictures depict. Kung ano ba ang sa tingin ninyo ay pinapakita ng picture diyan sa ating presentation.
Okay. Marami nang nag-comment. Oh, wait lang. Basahin ko. Ay, may nagpakita ng ano.
Si ano?
Hindi ako
Ma'am Mirna, si Misha.
Yes, ma'am.
Oo, si Misha, ang sagot niya, puberty.
Okay, thank you, Misha. Meron pa ba tayong mga ibang sagot dyan?
Meron akong nabasa. Sabi ni organista Harlene ng Ten Molave, humans are normally growing hair.
Okay. So, thank you din sa sumagot. Sige lang.
O may isa pa, Ma'am Mirna.
Yes, ma'am.
From Jonah, Jamaica Tangonan Castro, puberty din ang sagot niya.
Okay.
Yes. Ganon din sabi ni Minerva Corameng. Sabi ni Nicole Castillo, development.
Pakiulit, Ma'am Jen.
Development. Sabi ni
development daw.
Nicole,
sabi ni Nicole
Castillo.
Okay, so meron pa ba mga kasagutan? Sige po.
Alexis Manzano, the picture is about puberty.
Ayan. Mostly ang sagot nila, ma'am, ay puberty.
O from Charlene, another one, Charlene
Okay.
Joy.
Sabi ni...
Saad, growth.
Oo.
Tama
May sumagot din ng reproduction, sabi ni Cyril Labagnoy Feliciano ng 10SPJ.
Okay, napaka-active ng mga anak natin. And of course, all their ideas are correct, no? Okay, correct naman ang kanilang mga sinagot. Actually, the pictures, sabihin ko na ba? Or
Okay,
may mga
ma'am.
sagot pa?
Okay, puberty ang sagot nila. Changes in body, sabi na ni Shekina
Shakina,
Jairet
Jairet,
Tangonan ng 10SPJ. Sabi niya,
Okay.
changes in the body.
Okay, very good. So, thank you sa lahat ng sumagot. Actually, sabi ko nga kanina, as I have said, no, lahat naman sila ay tama ang sagot. Okay, so the pictures depicted some of the physical changes, sabi nga nila, development,
Yes.
body changes, okay, of a girl or a boy, experiences during puberty. Okay, yun yung
so
sagot
na ano
nila
nila
kanina.
yung word na puberty
Yes,
doon.
ma'am. Okay, actually, so congratulations sa lahat ng sumagot and as I have said, lahat kayo ay tama naman ang inyong sagot. Okay, so how about these pictures? So meron pa tayo na Ma'am Jen. Okay, how about these pictures?
Wow.
Yan. I'm sure medyo na-experience na natin yan, mga grade 10, no? Okay, so what can you say about these pictures? Ano naman kaya ang pinapakita ng pictures na ito? Okay, so you may chat again your answers or
May nag-text na
pwedeng
ba, ma'am?
mag-text. Actually, wala pa.
Puro chat
naman,
sila.
wala
Puro
pa.
chat. Number ko po yun.
Ito, meron si J.R. Abalos. O from 10 Lawan, adulting stage, sabi
Wow,
niya.
adulting,
Wow.
Ganda ng sagot niya.
Meron din sumagot din ng isa pa, adulting stage din yung sagot niya.
Okay, adulting stage. Meron pa sa dyan, Ma'am Jen?
Circle of Friends, sabi ni Karil Jade Ballesteros Foronda ng 10 Einstein.
Okay. So nakikita kasi natin dyan, no?
Adolescent,
Meron yung
sabi ni
Yes.
Jan Mariano.
Magkakasama.
Valentine Gile, yes,
Oo.
adolescent.
May sagot din na socialization.
Okay.
Sabi ni Charlene Joy Marcelo Saad ng 10 Rutherford. Ayun.
Circle of friends. So,
Yes,
yan.
ma'am. Kasi sa picture, meron dito nakikita natin
kay,
no?
Kay
Yung
Karil.
magkakaibigan na
Karil
puro babae.
Foronda.
Okay, meron din yung tropa doon, dalawang lalaki. Okay, meron pa ba?
Ayun. Pareho na, socialization, ganon.
Okay.
Social life.
Social
Life, sabi ni John na Jamaica Tawanan Castro. Adolescent, sabi ni Maria Cristina Enriquez. Ayan.
Okay, so once again,
Puberty,
thank you.
may na-late.
Thank you sa mga, meron pa Ma'am Dines?
Na-late lang yung sagot niya, ma'am, sa puberty yung kanina. Yung
Yung
first slide
kanina.
natin.
Okay, so medyo naglag siguro. Okay, so actually, yung mga sagot ng ating mga anak ay tama rin, no? Okay, tama siya. Actually, these pictures, okay, depict, kung kanina, dinedepict niya yung physical changes brought by puberty. Ito namang pictures ngayon, ito naman yung emotional changes and social changes na na-experience nila caused by puberty. And I'm sure talaga mga grade 10 learners natin, they have experienced this already and or still experiencing right now, no? Okay, so now the question is, so nakita natin meron tayong physical changes, emotional and social changes. The question is, what do you think causes these changes in appearance, o yung physical, as well as in their emotions?
Oo, may isa talagang bagay
Yes,
na
may isa talagang
dahilan kung
dahilan.
bakit magkakaroon tayong mga changes na
Yes.
yan.
Okay.
Development.
So yan. So isang
Ano
word
kaya
lang
yun?
siya, no?
One word yun.
Yan.
Ilang letters ba yun?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
meron
7, 8.
meron na akong nakitang sagot.
Okay, meron na daw sumagot.
Oo, may sumagot from 10 Mendeleev, si Jonah Jamaica Tangonan Castro. Sabi niya, ma'am, ay hormones.
Okay.
Meron pa ba?
Meron pa ba?
It is caused by hormones, sabi ni Alexis Manzano ng 10 Einstein.
Okay, wow, nangungunang ating mga science class
Sabi ni
students,
Nicole
no?
Castillo, puberty.
Okay.
Oh,
And
okay.
active din ang ating mga regular signs.
Yes. Andyan
Okay,
sila.
meron pa, ma'am?
Oo. Hormone, sabi ni Denise Foronda. Hormone, sabi ni Maria Cristina Enriquez, hormone.
Okay, so yes, very good. The answer is, ayan, hormones.
Okay.
Actually, hormones have great impact on the growth, appearance, emotions, and reproductive functions. And this afternoon, okay, my dear learners, we will be discussing about this, no? About the, okay, so we'll be discussing about the roles of hormones in male and female reproductive system. Okay?
Okay, so this afternoon we have subtopics which we will be discussing today. It's all about the hormones and the endocrine system. Second, the male reproductive system. Third, the female reproductive system. Next is the feedback mechanism.
We will also be discussing about the menstrual cycle and how to keep the reproductive system healthy.
Ayun.
Okay. So, let's welcome Ma'am Jennifer Lacambra and Ma'am Fernandina Benito to discuss about hormones and the endocrine system.
Okay, so good afternoon once again, mga minamahal namin mga learners. So, our topic is all about the roles of the hormones in the reproductive system. Okay. Before we discuss the hormones, let's have first the endocrine system. Why? Okay, because in this topic, we will look on the coordinated function of the endocrine system and the reproductive system sa ating katawan or in our body. Okay, so what is the endocrine system? So the endocrine system is composed of glands that produces chemical messengers called hormones. So ito yung sabi ni Ma'am kanina na hormones are very important in the growth and development of our body. So hormones are produced in one part of the body and travel to target organs through the bloodstream. So the endocrine system, mga anak, is composed of the different glands. Yan nga, makikita nyo dito sa right side sa ating figure. Those are the the glands. So those glands, those parts of the body secrete hormones which have certain or specific role para sa ating katawan. Okay. Ayan, makadidiscuss yan mamaya ulit. So, we have here the glands of the endocrine system. Ito po ay ilan lang sa kanila, no? So, we have the pituitary gland. Ang pituitary gland natin is found dito at the base of the brain. So, it is called the mother gland. Bakit tinawag na mother gland si pituitary gland? It is because it controls the function of other glands. Yung mga iba pang glands siya din yung kumokontrol. Although gland siya, kumokontrol din siya ng mga ibang glands. Okay. Next is the thyroid gland. Nandyan sa ating, yan, sa may neck, sa may leeg. Parathyroid, nandyan din siya. Thymus, adrenal gland. Ito yung nagkocontrol kapag, ito yung adrenaline, nagpo-produce ng adrenaline natin. Kaya tayo may tinatawag na adrenaline rush. Okay, we have also the pancreas, ito. Then the ovary and the testis. Okay, so the ovary and the testis are part of the endocrine system because they produce hormones, as well as they are also part of the reproductive system because they are involved in the reproduction. So, ano sila, nag-overlap ang kanyang function. Okay. So, the endocrine system, the brain continuously sends signals to the endocrine gland. So, nabanggit dito yung brain. Although the brain is not part of the endocrine system, the brain is part of the nervous system, but it is the main part of our body that controls the endocrine system. So, may kinalaman ang brain dito, ang nervous system natin. So, si brain magsisend ng signal sa endocrine gland to secrete and release the hormones. Okay, and yung glands naman send feedback to the nervous system. Okay, madidiscuss yan mamaya ni Ma'am Donna in our feedback mechanism. So, ito, the hypothalamus in the brain is the master switch that sends signals to the pituitary gland, which can release up to 8 hormones into the bloodstream. So, nasa brain siya. Okay? And then, pansinin nyo ito, yung sinabi na yung hormones is released into the bloodstream. So, yung ating glands, once na nag-release siya ng hormone, the hormone is delivered to the different cells kung saan siya kailangan or kung saan siya talaga pupunta through our bloodstream. So, napag-aralan nyo ito noong kayo ay nasa grade 9 na isa sa mga dala-dala ng ating blood ay dala-dala ng ating circulatory system ay hormones. Okay? Through our blood. Ayan. Then, the hypothalamus then detects the rising hormone levels from the target organ. Ang ating hormones kasi ay meron silang target organ kung saan sila kailangan or kung saan sila dapat pumunta. And decreases the release of hormones from the pituitary, which results in a decrease in hormone release from the target organ. Okay, may kinalaman yan mamaya sa feedback mechanism na i-discuss natin further ni Ma'am Donna ulit. Okay, so the process of maintaining normal body function through negative feedback mechanisms is called homeostasis. So, kaya meron tayong balance. Ang hormones din kailangan balance because of or through the mechanism called homeostasis. Ayan. So, ano ba yung hormone na pinag-uusapan natin? It is a chemical. So, it is a chemical that is released into the blood and transported to affect cells in other parts of the body. Some of the functions of hormones are for growth and development, kaya tayo tumatangkad, nagde-develop ang ating katawan. In the male and female development, ayan yung mga na-observe nyo kanina. Then, how the body uses energy. So, ang ating metabolism, may kinalaman po yan. the levels of salts and sugars in the blood. So, medyo hindi natin focus ngayon pero may kinalaman ito sa blood sugar level ng ating katawan, salt level. Then, the amount of fluid in the body. Ayan. Sila yung nagko-control dyan. Ayan. So, we have now the reproductive hormones which will be our focus this afternoon with Ma'am Dina Benito.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Jen.
Hindi tayo makapag-
Okay, so ang ganda, 'di ba? So, bakit endocrine, 'di ba? Kagaya ng sinabi nga ni Ma'am Jen kanina, actually endocrine system or endocrine system is
Hindi
also
tayo
called the
makagawa ng iba kasi nakikita tayo.
hormonal system. So, of course, it has various glands that release different hormones. Okay, so yung mga hormones kasi na 'yon, they are like the body's communication system. Di ba? Ang galing. Communication system. They take messages from one part of the body to the glands to tell other part of the body or what we call the target cell. Di ba? Nabanggit kanina ni Ma'am Jen yun, yung target cell. So, to do something important. Siyempre, alangan naman nagagawa siya ng hindi tama, di ba? Dapat importante lang. So, the endocrine glands influence reproduction. Yun yung mga sinabi kanina ni Ma'am Jen. Metabolism, growth, and many other functions. So, yung main focus natin ngayon, dito sa live discussion natin is, what are the hormones associated with the reproduction or the reproductive system? So certain hormones play key roles in reproduction. They cause the different sexual characteristics in males and females and control fertility or the ability to have offspring. So there are several reproductive hormones, but there are three major ones. So what are they? We have the estrogen, the progesterone, and of course, we have the testosterone. Isa-isahin po natin yan. So, these hormones, yung mga hormones na binanggit ko na yon, the estrogen, progesterone, and the testosterone, these are associated with puberty. Di ba yung kanina, yung nauna namin na kanina pinakita, mga different pictures, di ba? It's all about puberty. Okay, so, isa-isahin po natin yung mga reproductive hormones na yon. Saan ba manggagaling yung source ng mga hormones na yan? Okay, so the first one, we have estrogen. So what is estrogen? Okay, so estrogens, these are group of these are hormones that stimulates the growth of the uterine lining, causing it to thicken during the pre-ovulatory phase of the cycle. Okay, so saan ba ito? Yung source niya ng estrogen na yan. We have from the ovary, placenta, and the testis, of course. So estrogens are hormones found in females and in low levels in males. So ibig sabihin, hindi lang sa babae meron yung estrogen. Kasi nakita natin doon ovary. So, di ba pag ovary, wala namang ovary ang lalaki, di ba? Pero meron silang testes, di ba? Tama ba ako? Okay. So, yung mga yon, yung estrogen na yan, mas mataas yung percentage sa ating mga babae. Sa lalaki, meron din yan. But, in a very low levels. Okay. So, what are the functions of estrogen? Okay, one, growth and development of the fallopian tubes. We have the uterus, the vagina, external genitalia, and in females, estrogens control the development of secondary sex characteristics. Ano ba yung mga secondary sex characteristics na yan? Yung pagkakaroon na ng pubic hair, di ba? Yung development of our breast, sa hips natin medyo nagkakaroon na ng bubog. Those are just some of those secondary sex characteristics. Okay, so these hormones control different stages of the menstrual cycle in females. Kasi wala namang lalaking nagme-mens, di ba? So sa female, which will be discussed by Ma'am Donna mamaya. Malalaman natin ano nga ba yung talagang nung estrogen na yan doon sa menstrual
ano dun sa ano natin yan, sa reproductive system. Okay, then estrogen inhibits LH release. Ano ba yung LH release na yan na sinasabi?
Luteinizing hormone.
Yun yung tinatawag natin na luteinizing hormone. So, luteinizing hormone is a chemical in our body that triggers important processes in our reproductive system. So, importante yan dun sa reproductive system. It is first ovulation and helps with the hormone production needed to support pregnancy. So, yun yung LH na tinatawag natin. Okay, yun yung tinatawag natin na LH. So, if your LH levels, kumbaga parang ito din yung nag-check ng fertility issues yung sa LH. Malalaman natin lahat yan mamaya. Okay, next. So, aside from estrogen, ano pa ba ang hormones na very important in the reproduction? Okay, we have also progesterone. Okay, so progesterone. Okay, ano naman yung progesterone na ito? It is a hormone secreted by the female reproductive system that functions mainly to regulate the condition of the inner lining of the uterus. Or ito yung tinatawag natin na endometrium. Okay, so it is being produced by the ovaries, placenta, and the adrenal glands. It is a hormone released by the corpus luteum in the ovary, and it plays a very important role in the menstrual cycle and in maintaining the early stages of pregnancy. So matatakel lahat yan mamaya sa progesterone. Stimulation and growth of mammary glands, yun yung mga function. It plays role in conception and maintenance of the pregnancy. Inhibition of the FSH and the LH. So alam natin yung LH kanina, di ba? Luteinizing hormone. Then yung FLH naman, we have the follicle luteinizing
Stimulating.
hormone. I'm sorry. Okay, so yun naman yung
SH.
FSH. Okay, thank you. Okay, then, the last one, eto na. Do not be confused ha, yung progesterone or the estrogen, meron sa lalaki, meron sa babae. Pero ang pinakaano sa mga lalaki, yung meron talaga na ano sa kanila is yung testosterone. Parang kabaliktaran siya. Di ba? Ang estrogen, mas marami sa babae kaysa sa lalaki. Ang testosterone naman is meron pa din sa babae, pero in a very small amount. Low level din siya. Hindi pwedeng mas mataas ang testosterone ng babae kaysa sa lalaki. Kasi yung testosterone, ano siya, talagang para sa mga lalaki yan. Okay, so testosterone, like estrogen, is also a steroid hormone. It is found in males and in smaller amount in females. Okay, so in males, testosterone controls the development of the secondary sex characteristics. So, kagaya din siya ng estrogen, di ba? Ano din siya dun sa secondary sex characteristics. Ano ba yung mga secondary sex characteristics sa mga lalaki na napapansin natin? Yan, yung nagkakaroon sila. Kumbaga yung boses nila, parang lumalaki yung boses nila.
Lumalalim. Deeper.
Lumalalim daw. Parang mas nagiging buo yung boses nila. The broadening of sa shoulder. Parang nagkakaroon na ng
Lumalapad.
Nagkakaroon na din ba sila ng mga abs?
Ang abs naman kasi.
Yung abs naman
Yung
kasi
abs
ma'am, true
exercise yun.
True exercise yun.
Pero yung sa yung mga secondary sex characteristics sa boses, nag-iiba na. Kung dati pumipiyok siya, ngayon parang, mas okay na siya. Okay. So, yun yung, nagkakaroon na din sila ng...
Adam's apple.
Yes, Adam's apple.
Tama ba?
And then yung
Meron
hair.
may babae
Hairs.
na nagkakaroon ng Adam's apple. Di ba may
Hindi,
mga
lumalaki
babae na
lang siya.
Lumalaki lang.
Lumalaki.
Meron din tayo.
Oo. Okay.
Yun din, nagkakaroon ng mga facial hair, ng bigote, mga ano na yan. Okay, then, testosterone in males is produced by the testicles. Yung sa testicles naman yung nag-produce ng testosterone. Okay, so, di ba yung sabi ko sa inyo kanina? It is a sex hormone that plays important roles in the body. Sa mga lalaki, it's thought to regulate sex drive or yung tinatawag natin na libido, bone mass, fat distribution, muscle mass, and strength, and the production of red blood cells and sperm. Okay, so yun po yun sa testosterone. It is also promotes functional maturation of the spermatozoa. Okay, so yun po yung sa major hormones na kailangan in the reproductive system. They play a very important role in the reproduction. We have the progesterone, estrogen, and we have the testosterone. Okay, huwag kayong makakonfuse dun ha. Testosterone, estrogen, parehas na meron sa lalaki at saka sa babae. Kaya lang, estrogen, I should say, mas marami sa babae talaga yun. Yun yung dominant sa kanila. Sa lalaki, kukunti lang. Testosterone, kabaliktaran din naman yan. Mas marami sa lalaki kesa sa babae. Okay? So, I hope meron tayong naintindihan or natutunan po doon about the different hormones.
Okay, thank you Ma'am Dina. So let's have naintindihan na natin yung mga hormones involved in the reproductive system. So let us have, what is reproductive system, Ma'am Mirna?
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Jen. Actually, this system is not new naman to our learners kasi in their earlier years, I believe, nung sa elementary, parang natakal din nila to, no? Okay, so the reproductive systems in both male and female consist of primary and secondary sex organs and sex glands. Okay, each of these organs work together to ensure survival of the species. Other systems in the body, such as the endocrine and urinary systems, work continuously to maintain homeostasis for survival of the individual. An individual actually may live a long, healthy, and happy life without producing offspring. But if the species is to continue, at least some individuals must produce offspring. Dito pumapasok yung ating reproduction, and that is the major role of the reproductive system. Okay, so this time, let us discuss about the male reproductive system. Okay? So, yan. The slide shows the male reproductive system. Yan. So, the male reproductive system is located in the pelvis region. It includes a pair of testes along with the accessory duct glands and the external genitalia. Okay, so let us take up the function of each part. Okay, so isa-isahin natin yan. Yung organs included in the male reproductive system. Okay, let's have the first one, which is the penis. Ayan, penis, no? The penis is the male sex organ, reaching its full size during puberty. It is an erectile organ and helps in sperm deposition in the vagina during copulation. In addition to its sexual function, the penis acts as a channel for urine to leave the body. Okay, so the penis is composed of 3 layers of spongy erectile tissue, and during sexual arousal, the erectile tissue fills with blood from arteries, and the resultant increased pressure fills of the veins that drain the penis, and the engorgement of the penis with blood causes an erection. Kaya sinabi natin kanina, it's an erectile organ, no? Okay, so that's penis. Ayan, let's proceed. Ayan. Okay, so the male reproductive system is consist of a pair of testes lodged in an integumentary pouch, which is the scrotum. Okay? So initially, they are abdominal. However, as the development proceeds, they descend down into the scrotum. Okay, ayan pala siya. So this adaptation enables regulation of internal temperature of the testes higher than the body temperature, which is very essential for their normal functioning. In adults, each testis oval in shape with a length of about 4 to 5 centimeters and a width about 2 to 3 centimeters. The testis is covered by a dense covering, and each testis has about 250 compartments called testicular lobules. Okay, so ayan, nakikita nyo dyan sa ating picture, no? Okay, ayun yung seminiferous tubules natin. Ayan, and each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled somniferous tubules in which sperms are produced. Okay, so yun yung main function niya, no? Okay, next we have semen. Yan, naririnig siguro ninyo yan. Actually, semen is the thick fluid that comes from men's penis when they ejaculate during sexual activity. It carries sperm out of a man's body so it can fertilize an egg and create an embryo. Okay, so it contains mucus, fructose, a coagulating enzyme, ascorbic acid, and prostaglandins. Okay, so the accessory glands involved in the production of semen are, we have seminal vesicle, prostate gland, the bulbourethral gland, or the Cowper's gland. Okay, so let's take the function of each of these glands. Okay, let's have first the seminal vesicle. Okay, the seminal vesicle contribute around 70% of the fluid that will eventually become semen. Okay, so the fluid that they secrete has a number of properties and components that are important for semen function and sperm survival. First, the fluid that the seminal vesicles produce is slightly alkaline in nature. Why? Okay, bakit kaya siya alkaline? This property increases the pH of the semen as a whole and counteracts the acidic environment found within the vagina. Okay, so the fluid also contains fructose, a sugar that provides an energy source for spermatozoa. So other components such as proteins, enzymes, vitamin C, and prostaglandins are also present. Okay? So semenogelin is also an essential seminal vesicle protein which results in the formation of a gel-like matrix that encases ejaculated spermatozoa, preventing immediate capacitation. Okay, so napansin niyo, no, lahat napakahalaga, lahat ng mga components ng mga, okay, yan. Okay, let's have the second gland, which is the prostate gland. The prostate gland is located just below the bladder in men and surrounds the top portion of the tube that drains urine from the bladder or the urethra. Okay? So the prostate's primary function is to produce the fluid that nourishes and transports the sperm or the seminal fluid. The secretion is a slightly alkaline fluid that activates the sperm and prevents them from sticking together. Okay, so ayan, napaka-importante ng kanyang role. Okay, so however, prostate problems are common in males over 40 years of age. Okay, actually, prostate cancer is one of the most common cancers in men. That's why, my dear learners, it's very important for you to know how to keep your reproductive system healthy, no, and safe. Okay, so mamaya madidiscuss din natin yan. Okay, next, let's proceed to another gland, which is the bulbourethral gland, or commonly known as the Cowper's gland. Okay na, sir? Oo nga, kala ko mayroong plano. Okay, so ulitin ko po. Another gland is the bulbourethral gland or commonly known as the cowper's gland. Okay, either of two P-shaped glands in the male located beneath the prostate gland. Ayan, so nakikita nyo dyan sa image, no? Nasa baba lang siya. Okay, ng ating prostate gland. And at the beginning of the internal portion of the penis. Okay, so nandun siya. Nakikita nyo dyan sa ating picture dyan, figure. Okay, so the glands which measure only about 1 centimeter in diameter have ducts that empty into the urethra, the tube through which both urine and semen pass. The fluid exerted by these glands is clear and thick and acts as a lubricant. It is also thought to function as a flushing agent, no? That washes out the urethra before the semen is ejaculated. And it may also help to make the semen less watery and to provide a suitable living environment for the sperm. Okay, so nakita natin, no? Ang coordination of all the organs of the male reproductive system. So lahat sila may specific function, okay, na ginagampanan. Okay? So let's have this one, the ejaculation, which is the expulsion of semen from the body. Okay, it propels sperm from the epididymis to the vas deferens. Okay, so the vas deferens run from the scrotum and behind the urinary bladder. Here, each vas deferens joins with a duct from the seminal vesicle to form an ejaculatory duct. And these ducts open into the urethra. Okay, and then the urethra drains both the excretory and the reproductive systems. Okay? Okay, actually, a male usually ejaculates about 2 to 5 milliliter of semen. Each milliliter containing about 50, tingnan nyo ha, 50 to 130 million sperm. Ganun siya karami, no? So the bulbourethral fluid also carries some sperm released before ejaculation. So na-discuss natin kanina yan, no? Yung, sa ating cowper's gland. So this is one of the reasons why the withdrawal method of birth control has a high failure rate. Okay, so additional information lang to mga anak ha. Okay, so yan. That's why withdrawal method of birth control has a high failure. Okay? So we have here the hormones involved in spermatogenesis. Ano ba ang spermatogenesis, ma'am? Okay? It is the production of sperm from the primordial germ cells. Okay? So medyo hapyawan ko lang to, although mas ma-explain pa to mamaya. Okay? Since we are talking about hormones. So we have number 1, the gonadotropin releasing hormone or the GnRH, which is secreted from the hypothalamus and stimulates the secretion of FSH and LH. Pag sinabi natin FSH, it is the follicle stimulating hormone, and ang LH naman ay luteinizing hormone. Okay, another hormone is the FSH. Okay, it stimulates the secretion of ABP, or androgen binding protein, by the Sertoli cells and keeps testosterone levels high in the area of spermatogenesis. Okay, we have also the LH, no? Luteinizing hormone, which binds to the interstitial cells of the testes, stimulating testosterone release. Okay, and then we have inhibin. Ayan, is a protein hormone that serves as a barometer of spermatogenesis. Bakit barometer, ma'am? If the rate is so high, it is secreted and it inhibits FSH. No? If the count is too low, its secretion drops. Okay, so mamaya mas ma-explain pa yan sa ating feedback mechanism. Okay, so that's all about the male reproductive system and the function of each organ of the system. I hope I have shed light on this topic. And thank you for listening. Ayan, this time, may we have Ma'am Jennifer Lacambra to discuss the female reproductive system.
Thank you, ma'am. Before I continue, hello muna sa ating mga learners. Nandyan pa ba kayo? Ayan. I hope you are still tuned in to our scientific session this afternoon.
Diba, napakaganda ng topic mo.
Oo, gising nga ako dun sa
Gising na
topic
gising
natin
si Sir Dennis dito, talagang
tuwang-tuwa
nakikinig.
si Sir Dennis. Okay, so let's have the female reproductive system. So the female reproductive system is one of the most vital parts of the human reproductive process. Although a man is needed to reproduce, it is the woman who incubates the developing fetus and delivers the child into this world. So let us study the female reproductive system. So this is a cross-section of the female reproductive system. So we have here the different organs, the different organs that are part of the reproductive system. So isa-isahin natin sila mamaya. Okay. So the major organs of the female reproductive system include first the vagina, second uterus, third ovaries, and fourth the fallopian tubes. Okay. But we also have other organs like or other parts like the cervix, the fimbriae, and the fimbriae. Okay, so you can see here on the screen is the internal reproductive system of the female. We have here, mag-umpisa tayo sa baba. So we have there the vagina. Then, the cervix. Okay. And this, anong tawag dito? Etong naka-inverted triangle dyan is the uterus. Ang tawag dyan ay, ang shape niya talaga is inverted pear. Oo, yung peras na inverted. Okay? And then, on each, or on both sides, we have the fallopian tube, or the uterine tube. Then the fimbriae, yung parang yung finger-like structure dyan, we call that the fimbriae. And then the ovary, etong oval dito sa magkabilang gilid. Okay, what are their functions? Okay, so let's have vagina. The vagina is about 8 to 10 centimeters long. So kung balikan natin yung figure dito sa baba, extended po yan. Okay, that is about 8 to 10 centimeters long. It extends from the exterior, sa labas, hanggang sa cervix. Okay, it is the female copulatory organ. So, this muscular tube receives the penis during intercourse, and through it, a baby leaves the uterus during childbirth. Kaya siya tinawag na the birth canal. Okay, pero normally dyan po lumalabas ang baby, pero ngayon meron ng cesarean method. Okay, so the vagina is elastic. It is composed of of muscles, so elastic po yan. Pwede siyang mag-expand, pwede din siyang mag-shrink. Okay, so the vagina, sabi nga ni ma'am kanina, is acidic in nature. Okay? Because of the vaginal flora, which is the bacteria that live inside the vagina. So, usually dominated ng lactobacillus species. So, may mga bacteria, good bacteria that lives inside of the vagina, which is the lactobacillus, to help to keep the vagina healthy by producing lactic acid, hydrogen peroxide, and other substances that inhibit the growth of yeast and other unwanted organisms. So, they maintain the vagina at a healthy pH of around 4. Ayan. And additional, vagina is self-cleaning. Hindi mo siya kailangang linisan sa loob. It's actually maintaining the cleanliness of its own. Yan. Dahil dun sa the help of the lactobacilli sa kanyang in the vagina. So, Ayan, tandaan nyo po yung kanyang pH level which is 4. Meron niyang kinalaman dun sa sa pag-receive niya dun sa mga semen kanina. Okay, so next is the cervix. Actually, the cervix is part of the uterus. It is in the lower part of the uterus. Kung mapapansin nyo kanina sa picture, nandun siya sa pinaka-opening ng uterus ang cervix. So it is the narrow neck and is the outlet of the uterus into the vagina. This is also called the external os. Okay? So the glands of the cervix lubricate the vagina and can block the entry of sperm unless it is at mid-cycle. So usually, dun pa lang sa mucus or sa hormone, sa mucus na nire-release ni cervix, ay nabablock na yung sperm. Okay? Kung hindi pa siya ready, kumbaga wala pa yung ovulation stage. Next is the uterus. So the uterus functions to receive, retain, and nourish the fertilized ovum. Okay, this is a hollow, yun nga sabi ko kanina, pear-shaped organ that is the home to a developing fetus. So main function ni uterus ay i-nourish, i-nurture, i-retain, i-receive yung fertilized ovum. Yan yung magiging fetus or the developing fetus. So the uterus is divided into two parts. The cervix which is the lower part that opens into the vagina, and the main body of the uterus is called the corpus. So yung corpus can easily expand to hold a developing baby. Ayan. So once the baby is growing inside the uterus or the corpus also expands. Ayan. Kaya lumalaki yung tawag nila dyan, baby bump. Okay? A canal through the cervix allows sperm to enter and menstrual blood to exit. So, dun dumadaan yung sperm and also yung menstrual blood na palabas kung hindi na-fertilize si egg. Okay. The non-pregnant human female uterus is the size of an inverted pear. Ayan. Yung normal size niya kapag hindi buntis yung taong babae, human female. Okay? Inverted pear. Pero kung habang nagbubuntis siya, lumalaki, and kapag nakalabas na yung baby, babalik siya sa original size niya. Magsishrink ulit siya. Okay? Muscular. Flexible siya. Elastic. Parang ganun. Okay. Next. Ayan. So, the uterus is composed of 3 layers. So, we have the endometrium. It is the mucosal lining of columnar epithelium. Okay, in short word, ito yung pinagkakapitan ni fertilized egg once na na-receive na siya ni uterus. Okay, and ito rin po yung nagbabakbak during the menstrual cycle kung hindi na-fertilize or walang na-fertilize na egg. Then, we also have myometrium. Balikan na pala natin yung kanina. Okay, so ito yung endometrium, yung pinaka-lining niya ng uterus. And then the myometrium, okay, itong pinaka-gitna niya. And then yung lining niya sa labas is the perimetrium. Okay, so yun. And we also have the uterine or the fallopian tubes. Very important ang function din nito. It receives the ovulated oocyte. It is the site of fertilization or the ampulla. The fimbriae are finger-like projections at the end of the oviduct. Sa end kasi ng fallopian tube, meron tinatawag na fimbriae. Okay, so the fallopian tubes are narrow tubes that are attached to the upper part of the uterus. and serve as pathway for the ova or yung ova natin, yung mature egg cell. Paglabas niya ng ovaries, magta-travel siya papunta ng uterus through the fallopian tubes. Okay, fertilization of an egg by a sperm normally occurs in the fallopian tubes. The fertilized egg moves down or moves to the uterus where it implants to the uterine lining. Ayun. So, doon siya dumadaan. Doon nagmi-meet si sperm and egg. Ayan, normally. Then, pababa doon na sa uterus. Okay, so this is the fimbriae. Ayan yung kanyang itsura. Then, the ovary. Ovary is anchored by the ovarian ligament. It outwardly covered by the tunica albuginea, contains the ovarian follicles consisting of an oocyte and follicular cells, the site of oocyte maturation. So, dyan po, nare-release ang eggs and also dyan din po nare-release ang hormones na binanggit kanina ni Ma'am Dina. Okay? They are small oval-shaped glands that are located yan on the either side of the uterus. It produces eggs and hormones. Yan. So, the oogenesis in the ovary, ito po yung cycle ng maturation ng egg ng mga babae or egg cells ng mga babae. Okay? So, here we have 400 oocyte release, about 500 in a lifetime. Okay, ovary under influence of follicle-stimulating hormone, the follicles mature every 28 days. Then the primary follicle produces estrogens. Okay. And primary oocyte completes its first division, produces secondary oocyte and the polar body. So, the FSH and the estrogens are involved in the oogenesis. Ayan. And then approximately one-half or halfway through the 28-day cycle. Ano ba yung 28-day cycle? Ito po yung maturation ng ating, or ito yung tinatawag nating menstrual cycle. 28-day cycle. The follicle reaches the mature vesicular or Graafian follicle stage. So, nag-mature na siya. Then, estrogen levels rise and release luteinizing hormone and follicle-stimulating hormone and triggers ovulation. So, pag ovulation, lalabas na ang mature egg sa ovary. Okay, down the fallopian tube. The secondary oocyte travels down the uterine tube to the uterus. If fertilized by sperm, it will produce a zygote. So, yan na. Kapag may sperm na naka-fertilize sa kanya, ma-form ang isang zygote. Okay, what are the hormones involved in the female reproductive cycle? We have gonadotropin-releasing hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone. We also have luteinizing hormone, estrogen, progesterone, inhibin, and relaxin. So, yan po yung mga hormones involved in the female reproductive cycle. So, we have now the feedback mechanism with Ma'am Donabel Velasco.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. So, feedback. So, anong ginagawa natin when we give feedback? Ma'am Dimes? Anong ginagawa natin pag nagbibigay tayo ng feedback? Bago tayo magbigay ng feedback, may nangyari muna, di ba?
Yes.
Okay. So, in any system, a stimulus is needed for a feedback. A feedback is a response. No? We only give feedback or responses after receiving a certain stimulus from the outside of any system. Yung system na yan, it could be the environment. Ang pwedeng magkaroon ng feedback mechanism, hindi lang sa katawan natin. Meron tayong feedback mechanism in the environment, in the ecosystem, in any closed system, there is always feedback. Okay? And in our body, this feedback mechanism is the work of what system in the body? This is the work of the nervous system. Okay? The nervous system is an organ system composed by different nerves and neurons which primarily transmit signals between body parts. It is primarily directed by an organ called the brain, and it controls our actions, our thoughts, emotions, and a lot more. Okay, so the smallest unit of the nervous system are the neurons. These neurons are like the cells in our body, only that they function to transmit and receive stimuli, no, from the environment to the brain, and from the brain to the different parts of the body, so that the body can give responses, or ito yung mga feedback na sinasabi natin. There are three types of neurons. We have the sensory, and the sensory neurons are present in our different sense organs. Meron tayo sa eyes, no? And then, for example, nakita mo Ma'am Dina yung co-teacher mo. One reaction, ngayon, yung yung neurons natin sa sense organs natin will give the information to the brain. It will send that information to the brain, and the brain will command your body to give your reaction. So automatically, hindi mo na iisipin na kailangan ko bang mag-greet. So automatically, you greet, or sometimes you smile. No, we smile back, we greet back. That is an automatic reaction. No, that is our response or a feedback from a stimulus. So ganun ka-simple yung natin, yung feedback mechanism. We also have the motor. No, etong motor natin, this includes all the movement of body parts, no, in our body. And then we have the interneurons. Itong mga interneurons na ito, they send signals, no, from one neuron to another, so that the messages will reach the receiver, or coming from the receptor going to the brain. Okay, sensory neurons act as receptors of stimuli from our sense. Like for example, yung touch, yung smell, yung hear, yung taste. Kaya kapag napapasok tayo, di ba, automatically, pag napasok ka, iisipin mo pa ba, Ma'am Dines, na tatanggalin mo na yung kamay mo from the source of heat?
Automatic.
Ay, iisipin mo ba? So, di ba, hindi, it's an automatic response. So, ganyan din yung brain natin. Automatically, when you receive stimuli, hindi mo na kailangan isipin kung anong magiging reaction ng katawan mo. It naturally happens. No, spontaneous yan. So, ganun yun ang wonders ng brain natin. Madaling mag-work. Now, when the brain receives the information from the sensory neurons, it also sends signals directed to motor neurons. So, those signals will make us move, or will make us give our feedback or response based from the stimuli our body received. This motor neuron then tells the body part to act accordingly. Okay, this is the normal processing of information happens in the body. If this process is disrupted, then homeostasis is disrupted. The main goal of the feedback mechanism is to maintain homeostasis, or what we call the balance. No? Kasi when our body needs something, automatically, or receive a stimuli, automatically, the brain sends signals to different parts of the body to react. No? And some of these signals will allow our body to secrete these different hormones na diniscuss ninyo kanina. Yung estrogen, yung progesterone, yung ating luteinizing hormones, yung ating mga testosterone. So this will help the body maintain homeostasis. Okay? So let's go to our next slide. Ayan. Okay, this feedback mechanism is the physiological regulatory system in a living body, that works to return the body to normal internal state or homeostasis. This mechanism also found in nature in different ecosystem and animal group. Okay, so the feedback mechanism in the living system occurs in the form of a loop which assists in the maintenance of homeostasis. We can see here the image from in our screen. So we have here the stimulus. Ano yung stimulus natin? One example of stimulus is a high body temperature or a high temperature which could exceed 37 degrees Celsius, yung mainit na temperature. That is a stimulus. And the sensor, what will make you sense or receive that stimulus is the nerve cells present in your skin, no? But these nerve cells will send this information not going to the brain, okay? And automatically, because the brain, no, is the control of all the different body organs, it can now start sending signals to regulate the temperature. So ano ngayon ang pwede nating gawin? So yung sweat glands mo ngayon, di ba pag mainit, usually anong nangyayari? After sweating, your body cools down. No? Lumalamig ang temperature ng katawan natin after tayo ay makapag ano yung sweat sa Tagalog?
Pawis.
Makapagpapawis. Yan, Ma'am Jen. Thank you. So, napansin natin, after sweating, medyo lumalamig, ano? And that is one response. That is one feedback our body gives, ano? Okay. So, negative feedback. Ito, meron tayong dalawang feedback mechanism. Actually, we have two. We have the positive and the negative feedback. Pero yung nandyan sa slide natin, nauna kasi ang negative. So, discuss natin muna ang negative feedback, okay? So, let us first define negative feedback in biology. Okay, so a negative feedback also regulates many systems in organism. Like, for example, the endocrine system. This diagram shows a negative. Okay, actually, hindi natin nakikita yan sa diagram. The negative feedback mechanism moves the variable factor towards the stable state or homeostasis after the control unit interprets the extent of the deviation. Okay, later we will discuss this. Saan na yun? Okay. Mamaya muna tayo dyan sa positive feedback, ma'am. Pero parang may examples tayo dyan kanina ng negative feedback. Pwede natin i-check yung slides.
Ano mo sa positive? Yan.
Hindi, negative muna.
Negative daw, negative.
Okay. So, tingnan natin mamaya. Yung sa regulation of body temperature is a negative feedback. Parang balik tayo doon sa negative sa example niya kanina. Hindi, yung sa may
Yan.
balik. Sige pa po. Ayan, yun. Yan, okay. This is an example of a negative feedback, no? The body's responses when we try to normalize our body temperature. But let's try to continue first. Negative feedback loops are more common than positive ones as they tend to stabilize a system. Nagkakaroon tayo ng negative feedback when something deviates in a system. Like for example, when there is so much, there is an increased temperature, kapag nagkaroon tayo ng mataas na temperature. So one example is, dito sa isa, body temperature decreases. So what happens when body temperature decreases? Giginawin tayo, di ba? Okay. So heating mechanisms activated shivering. So what happens? The tendency of your body kapag yung sensory organs mo sa skin, naramdaman niya na medyo giniginaw ka na, the sensory neurons now send signals to your brain, no? And that brain now will send ano yun?
Message.
Messages to your body, no? And then your body shivers. Yung pag nag-shiver tayo kapag giniginaw, that is a mechanism.
Oo. Ang
No?
tawag doon.
Para hindi tayo masyadong ginawin, no? Yung giniginaw ka. And then what happens?
Nanginginig ba tawag doon?
Yes, kapag
Chill.
kapag nag-chill tayo, yung pag-shiver natin, that is a natural body mechanism when the body temperature drops. Kapag bigla tayong nagkaroon ng hypothermia. Saan tayo usually nandoon kapag may hypothermia? Usually ito kapag may trangkaso tayo, or if not, pumunta tayo ng malalamig na lugar. Kagaya ngayon dito sa loob ng booth, usually ang ginagawa natin is minumove mo yung legs mo, no? Para medyo ma-comfort ka. So body temperature now starts to increase, no? Pagka nagawa mo na yung shivering activity mo, body temperature increase and body temperature increases. So tumataas siya doon, nagkakaroon ka ng positive, and then cooling. Kapag tumaas naman yung body temperature mo, what does your body do? Cooling mechanisms are activated. That's why you sweat. So isang mechanism ng katawan natin ang sweating to cool down the temperature. So ganun ang nangyayari kapag may lagnat tayo. Diba? After drinking yung paracetamol or mga medicine for fever, after that, magkakaroon ka ng sweating and then nagkakaroon ka ng decrease in the body temperature. So nagkakaroon ngayon ng homeostasis, yes. So there are steps. Now, there are steps or processes involved in the negative feedback mechanism. One is the stimulation. You must receive a stimulus. Kailangan may ma-receive kang stimulus. Pwedeng ang stimulus mo, it could be received by any of your senses. Sa skin, sa nose, it could be a smell, or it could be the sight of something. Pwedeng pag nakakita ka ng aksidente or a person only, pwede na yun. O yung kinatatakutan mong mga bagay, objects, like that. And then, another one, itong stimulation, this is very important because this is the first step of the negative feedback loop. Okay? And then, ibig sabihin, na-determine na ng katawan or any system. And then, the reception. Are there changes physiologically? So, after the receiving of the stimulus, ang susunod doon is the reception. So, pagka may changes, yun na yung reception mo. Kunwari, anong ginawa mo? Tumakbo ka after the sight or after the smell or yung nakita mo, naamoy mo, yung reaction ng katawan mo. And then, number 3, processing. Okay, this is now the work of our brain. The control unit of the loop is the brain, which first determine if the change in the physiological parameter requires activation or inhibition of the loop. So, depending on the direction of the deviation, the brain sends out signals to undo the changes via different mechanisms. So, mayroon tayong different mechanism. This will depend on what body part is affected if we are talking about our body. Okay? In the case of changes in the body temperature, the groups of cells in the hypothalamus of the brain acts the control unit. Okay? And then we have the counteract on the stimulus. Okay? So, as the final step of the loop in the negative feedback, the control unit sends out signals to nullify the effects causing the changes in the physiological factors. Ito na yung itatry na ng katawan natin para ma-normalize ngayon yung nagkaroon ng deviation. Ang deviation ay yung stimulus natin. Okay? The changes can be of different types and directed towards different parts of the body. Okay. So, let's move on to the positive feedback. Okay. So, although mamaya we will discuss another example of the negative feedback. Okay, let's have the positive feedback. A positive feedback loop occurs when the output of a system acts to enhance the changes to the input of the system. One example of a biological positive feedback loop is the onset of contractions during childbirth. Ayan. Okay. So, i-define muna natin ang positive feedback bago tayo mag-discuss doon sa childbirth mechanism. Okay. A positive feedback mechanism, as the name suggests, is a pathway that in response to deviation in the output causes the output to change even more in the direction of the initial deviation. Itong deviation na sinasabi na dito is the stimulus. Now, a positive feedback mechanism amplifies the deviations and brings the state changes to the output. Okay. So, one example of a positive feedback is the contractions during childbirth. Okay. Sino na sa inyo ang naka-experience ng childbirth? O, Ma'am Mirna, how about
Yes,
you, Ma'am
ma'am.
Dines? Natural childbirth ang pinag-uusapan natin.
Natural po.
Ako,
Natural
contractions,
childbirth.
nagkaroon naman ako ng contractions.
Okay.
Ako,
So,
natural
contractions. After contractions,
Pero wala.
nanganak ka ba ng normal? Hindi. So,
Ay, lumabas.
Ako talaga yung normal, ma'am.
Ay, normal.
Dalawa, o di ba? Proud.
Very good. Very good. Naramdaman niya yung pagiging
Sobrang
ina
sakit.
Ay, hindi naman. Kaya lang yung pains kasi ng ng natural childbirth is
iba.
different from
Oh.
that of a cesarean section kasi experience kong dalawa yon. Yes. Okay. So, when the contraction occurs, the hormone oxytocin is released in the body, which stimulates further contractions. Ganito kasi yan. When the head or the presenting part, di ba usually ang presenting part pag manganganak, ang presenting part natin is yung ulo.
Yung crown na tawag nila.
Yun ang
yung
pinaka-normal. Yung ulo, cephalic. No, yung ulo, ang presenting part. Ngayon, yes, paano yun nagiging stimulus na naiipit niya? No? Naiipit niya yung labasan ng bata o yung puwerta ng mother. And that now is a stimulus. No? Bakit niya naiipit? Kasi because of its growth, malaki na siya kaya na-stimulate niya yun. And that stimulates now the more contractions. And kapag nagkakaroon ng mas maraming contractions, na-stimulate lalo yung hormone natin na oxytocin, no, which is released now in the body, which now stimulates further contraction. So, lalo niyang pinagko-contract. No? So, pag na-release ng oxytocin, lalong nagkakaroon ng contraction. Pero yung minsan, kapag walang contractions na nangyayari, ini-injectan na lang ng oxytocin para mag-contract yung uterus ng mother. This results now in contractions increasing in amplitude and frequency until such time magkakaroon ka ng natural childbirth. Okay. So, yun ang ibig sabihin ng positive feedback. And then, another example of the positive feedback is lactation. Ano itong lactation na sinasabi natin? Lactation involves positive feedback so that the more the baby suckles, the more milk is produced. Okay. So, this happens when mammals feeds their young ones. Hindi lang tao yan. So, ang lactation, this is a natural phenomenon ba yan? Or a natural process of the body dun sa ating mammary gland, no, that occurs as an effect of suckling. Or kapag anong tawag doon? Sinasak nung baby, no? Or yung nipple ng mother. The
May
more
napoproduce ng
it
milk.
sucks the nipples, ang nangyayari dyan, the more milk is produced. So, yung mga sinasabi ng mothers na hindi sila nakapag-breastfeed kasi ayaw ng baby, siguro yung sucking reflex, because sucking is a reflex. Hindi naman tinuturuan ang mga babies, kahit naman aso, pwedeng magsak yan, ano? Yung mga pusa, basta mammals, natural ang pagsasak. And the more sucking activity they do, ang nangyayari dyan, nagkakaroon ng stimulation ng production ng milk o yung production ng ating lactose from the mammary gland. So, tandaan natin, gland din ang ating breast. Nakuha natin. So, nagkakaroon tayo ngayon ng mas maraming secretions ng milk. Ang lactation is the production of milk. No? So, habang nasasak ang breast ng isang mammal, na female mammal, any mammal yan, kahit na mga baboy, ganyan, basta may hair. Yes, continuous na nagpo-produce yan ng milk. Okay. So, meron pa ba tayong susunod na example dito ng positive feedback? O yan. In most cases, once the purpose of the feedback loop is completed, counter signals are released that suppress or break the loop. Okay, ang ibig sabihin nito, kapag in-stop ang pagsasak, nag-i-stop din ang production ng milk. So, kapag yung baby, nag-stop din ang pag-move niya doon sa presenting part, doon sa cervix ng mother, nag-i-stop din ang contraction. Kaya minsan, may mga mother na nag-start ng mag-labor, pero hindi sila nakakapagpatuloy. Katulad ni Ma'am Jen, na-experience niya yung nag-start siyang nag-contract, nakaramdam siya ng contractions, pero nag-stop. Ibig sabihin, yung pag-move ng head or presenting part ng baby niya doon sa cervix niya para lumabas, nag-stop. So, kaya nagkaroon ng cesarean section. Bakit ba yan nangaw?
Yes, Ma'am
So,
Donna.
yung
Paano naman yung walang contraction?
ayun na yun, kapag walang contractions, yun na yung kailangan talagang ma-cesarean section. No, hindi kaya nung walang stimulus na nare-receive
Walang
yung
na-trigger.
brain. Oo,
Walang
walang
na-trigger.
nagti-trigger para magkaroon ng
Contraction.
ng mas
Para-
maraming
Oo.
contractions para magkaroon ng production ng oxytocin. Okay? So, the childbirth contractions stop when the baby is out of the mother's body. Lactation stops when the baby no longer nurses. So, yan yun. Okay? So, may mga tanong ba tayo? Okay. So, let's go now to the last, and then second to the last topic tayo, ano? The menstrual cycle. Ayan. So, ang tanong, sino, eto. Okay. How long is the menstrual cycle? Okay. So, will that be answered by the students? Ayan na yung sagot. So, menstrual cycle, for those who have it regular, no? Kasi meron tayong normal menstrual cycle is approximately 28 days. Okay, but for some, may mga less than 28 days. For some, meron ka namang sumosobra pa sa 28 days, ano? Which is completed in preparation for a human female to reproduce. Okay, so yan yung preparation na ginagawa ng bawat babae para makapag-reproduce tayo. Okay? So, what happens during the menstrual cycle? What controls the menstrual cycle? Okay. So, the cycle is divided into 4 phases. Okay. But it is controlled by the brain. Okay, yan. Yung ating magaling na brain. The cycle involves 4 hormones of chemical messages that tell specific cells to do a job. The hormones are released from the pituitary gland. Tandaan natin ang pituitary gland nandito sa ating
Sintido.
Dito, malapit dito. Okay,
Sa may
sintido, which is located at the base part of the brain and also the ovaries. Okay. So, the cycle can be subdivided into 4 stages. First is the follicular phase, where an ovum with its surrounding follicle cells develop. The second is the ovulation phase, which involves the maturation and breaking away of the ovum pag sinabi nating ovum, this is the egg cell.
Egg cell.
Okay. So what happens during the menstrual cycle? Ito na 'yon. Okay, ulitin natin ha. The first is the follicular phase. Okay, itong follicular phase, this is the first stage, no? So, follicular cells enlarge up to 2-fold to 3-fold in diameter. After a few days, the level of the follicle-stimulating hormones surpasses the luteinizing hormones, which accelerates the growth of 6 to 10 primary follicles. Okay. And then, the single follicle further increase in size and form the mature follicle. Yan yung nangyayari. Okay, nakita nyo dyan? It is from 1 to 14 days. Yan ang follicular phase natin. Nakikita nyo dyan sa screen. And then, it is followed by the ovulation. Meron tayong tinatawag dito na ovulation phase. Okay. So, ovulation phase is exactly, or the ovulation period is exactly 14 days after day 1 of your menstrual cycle. Day 1 is the first day of menstruation.
Yes,
so, you count 14 days forward. That is the ovulation period if you have a cycle of 28 days. So, usually, sabi nila, sinasabi ko na, if you have a 28-day cycle during your ovulation, anong nangyayari sa ovulation period? This is the time when a female is fertile.
Kasi ma'am, na-release na dyan yung mature egg.
Nagkaroon na tayo ng mature egg dito pagkatapos niyang mabuo dito sa follicular phase. So, sabi nila, it is 14 days, you count 3 days backward, 5 days backward, and 3 days forward. So, magkakaroon ka ng 9 days na fertility period. So, usually, sabi nila, mainit ka dyan. Mainit ang temperature. No?
Baka ibang init.
Okay. So, 14 days after the onset of menstruation, few days before ovulation, the follicle starts to swell with a protruding center called the stigma. Okay. And then, it is now followed by the luteal phase. Okay, the luteal phase is the last phase of the ovarian cycle and it corresponds with the secretory phases of the uterine cycle. Okay, so anong nangyayari dito? It is characterized by the increased level of progesterone. So sa luteal phase, nagkakaroon tayo ng mataas na progesterone level. The last one is the menstruation stage. Okay, yun na yung time na nagkakaroon ng menstruation where tissue lining, blood, and mucus are discharged from the female reproductive tract and that now ends the menstrual cycle. Okay, so sa ating last topic, Ma'am Dines.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Ma'am Donna, for that very comprehensive, no? Explanation of our topic
Pasensya
for
na
the
kayo,
feedback
medyo
mechanism.
Very
tayo ng
informative, ma'am. Yung
Very informative. Ayan. Okay, so for the last topic, how to keep our reproductive system healthy.
Isang
Okay,
ano na lang.
we will be giving that a short assignment. Okay, so
So, i-text na lang kay Ma'am.
Paki-send kay Ma'am.
Yes,
Give
and yung
at
mga
least-
subject
Sa inyong mga
teachers.
subject
Yes, subject
teachers.
teachers, at least 10 ways on how to keep
Masyadong
your...
madami, Ma'am.
Masyadong madami. Okay, 5.
5.
Okay, 5 ways on how to keep our reproductive system healthy. Okay, so once again, thank you. Thank you for joining. And see you again in our next session. God bless and keep safe,
Okay,
everyone.
bye-bye.
Bye!
Bye! See you next week!
Yan yung...
Physics, chemistry, earth science, biology, biochemistry, environmental science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is the way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity and how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science. And now, here is your host for the day. Ito ang 106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Ang silid-aralan sa radyo, hatid namin ay makabagong paraan ng pagtuturo at kalaman. Mapaumaga, tanghali o hapon man yan. Ang istasyong magbibigay impormasyon kahit saan man.
For something big. Alright, here we go.
106.3 Dance Radio. Doña Aurora National High School, Santa Rita, Aurora, Isabela.
This
106.3 DWDR FM.